Hi, this is Mark Waid, writer of Superman Birthright, and you're listening to Krypton Report.
Up in the sky, look!
It's a bird!
It's a plane! It's the Krypton Report!
I am your host, Tyler, and welcome to Krypton Report, a podcast dedicated to all things Superman, Supergirl. We're going to look at the Supergirl TV series, as well as the Krypton TV series, anything that has to do with the characters in their world. Comics, movies, TV shows. We will talk about everything and anything. We are part of the Southgate Media Group podcasting network. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, at Krypton Report. You can also email us at kryptonreportpod@gmail.com. If you get a chance to go over to iTunes, Apple Podcasts, please leave us a review to help us get better. You can find me personal at JTYPatrick on Twitter and everything else. Today's episode is brought to you by Cherry Coke. Not really, but I wish I was sponsored by Cherry Coke because I drink enough of it. I'm going to crack one open right now. Ready? So now I have my Cherry Coke. We're ready to talk. Today's episode is kind of cool. Well, it is cool. It's not kind of cool. You see, I started a second podcast and where it's in the makings of being aired. And it's basically the Requel podcast about movies. And what we do is we talk about properties and we kind of pitch our ideas of we would want to remake, reboot, sequel, whatever. The properties. Now, so what we were talking about here on Krypton Report for right now is we know that there's going to be a Man of Steel 2. But they're keeping a tight lid on it. So I can't do this alone. Can't talk to myself. Besides Solomon and Selah with me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give another reach out to our friend. So we want to welcome back to the show, Mr. James Cole. Welcome back, James.
Hey, thanks for having me. Excited to be back talking about Superman again.
Well, we do enough of that talk here, so we're just glad that, I don't know why I'm speaking word. Well, it's me and Janine, I guess, and Solomon. I'm not talking to myself, which gets boring sometimes. But, last time we talked, we had a good time, and, James told us about how he's a movie guy. So I said, you know what? What if we talked about what we would want to see in a Man of Steel 2? And, this year at Comic-Con, it wasn't up there on their slate, but technically their slate really wasn't a slate. It was just a bunch of movies that they're talking about doing or something. So I have a
or that are a bit in pre-production.
Yeah. Like, I have a theory, and it's not my own, but I agree with this one. And I think I heard it on Holy Batcast or Batman on Film. They mentioned that maybe that they're waiting for after Justice League to announce Man of Steel 2 because they really want to do is play down the death of Superman. I mean, most moviegoers maybe not paying attention to the toys and merchandise. None of the trailers have shown he's alive. But us hardcore comic people are like, yeah, he's coming back. So I really think they're trying to keep a hush on the idea that he is dead. And that's just kind of what I'm rolling with right now. But, I sat down with this idea, and I'm actually really, pumped. I would love to see this movie idea I have. But I don't want to go first because I think that's rude. So I'm going to allow you to go first.
Oh, you're more than welcome if you would like.
Nah.
So, we're going to go back and forth. Okay, not a problem.
So what we'll do is...
I'm pretty sure I think I've seen... I'm pretty sure at least I've seen the Man of Steel 2 is moving forward. It doesn't have a release date or anything, but
that's what I'm saying. We know it's in the ether. It's out there somewhere.
Yeah.
It's just they're not talking about it. It's like, shh, don't remind them that it's coming, because then they'll think they're too smart and they know that Superman's coming back. So
right.
But I guess I'll go first if you want.
Oh, okay.
Now you go first. I'm excited.
All right. Well, we talked about two ideas take place after Man of Steel, but before BVS. I kind of, my pitch is more of like what could have been before they, which we love BVS, but before they rushed into the extended universe. So the title of my Man of Steel sequel is Man of Tomorrow. Again, directed by. I like the title. It was in the vein of the Man of Steel. They kind of been using titles such as that since The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. Zack Snyder back to direct. Hans Zimmer back to compose the score.
Not a bad combo.
Well, they certainly did a good job with the movies we do have. The new characters to add to the cast, Henry James Olsen, obviously a young intern photographer at the Daily Planet. I'd like to see Michael Cera play him. I think he would definitely be. He's small. He's a smaller guy, unassuming. He'd really be in awe of Superman in front of him.
I can see that.
Yeah. One I would want to add as antagonists in the film, General Eiling. Played by either, Sam Elliott's a really good, mean general, and, or Clancy Brown. Everybody knows him as the, voice of Lex Luthor in the Deanie Tim verse.
It's a great verse.
Absolutely. Let's see. The main antagonist of the film, the big villain of the film being John Corbin, Metallo. I think Daniel Craig would be an awesome action star opposite Henry Cavill.
I agree.
As Metallo. He has a similar look from the comics as well. So.
Would you make him more of like an old boyfriend of Lois's, like somebody like would you tie him back to Eiling?
I definitely do like the military route that General Sam Lane. So yeah, him being an ex-boyfriend,
or suitor, should we say?
Suitor, yeah. Well, him being an ex-boyfriend would also give something for Clark to deal with as well. Maybe not on the grander scale, but being an ex-boyfriend would give something for Clark, not just Superman to deal with in the movie. Clark would actually have an emotional arc.
Which is good because I always like that kind of tension. Like, why would Lois pick Clark? Because, you just can't come out and be like, oh, it's because he's, like, she knows all about him, like, everything. So everyone's always like, why is he, so.
Yeah, which Michael Ironside played great in Smallville. Why would Lois pick somebody like you?
Which is a great episode in season 10.
Yes, it is. Absolutely great.
It guesses the current Snart family members. Thought that was fun.
Yes, I do like how they brought Lucy Lane in as a Snart family member, as Golden Glider.
Yep.
CW's good for that. They really are. I also would want to bring in Lex Luthor. I always saw more Billy Zane as the older, sophisticated businessman Lex Luthor.
Okay.
And then the synopsis for my film. After the devastating attack from General Zod and the Black Zero, Superman has revealed himself to the world. Some look up to this god among men as a savior and protector, while others are much more untrusting of the Man of Steel. General Eiling has been tasked with supervising the military quarantine zone around the wreckage of the scout ship, and during the cleanup, a unit discovers a strange green stone. After analysis, the stone is found to have radioactive properties that, tested on the corpse of General Zod, show to deteriorate Kryptonian cells. Alas, humanity now has a weapon against Kryptonians. Meanwhile, Superman is making a name for himself, saving people interspersed through the first 2 acts of the film. Natural disasters, tsunamis, earthquakes, floods, tornadoes, fires, as well as, disasters such as out of control vehicles, perhaps even a plane or helicopter crash sequence. Clark is making a name for himself at the Daily Planet, writing articles about super saves and the cleanup and rebuilding of Memorial Park, funded largely by LexCorp. Lex Luthor is revealed as a brilliant tech mogul. Lex Luthor has many large contracts with the military, developing state-of-the-art weapons and prosthetics. As a tech genius working with the military, Lex has been studying alien technology from the crashed scout ship. And from knowledge gained from the ship's computers, Lex has discovered how to amp up his robotics to superhuman levels. John Corbin, a pilot that crashed during the events of Black Zero, has been seriously injured and in a coma, being kept alive by machines. Unaware of the events of the last year, he has awoken to discover that he has been transformed into a machine with no feeling whatsoever, no sensation of pain or pleasure, and his heart has been replaced by the strange rock. Blaming Superman for his condition, he is pointed towards the Man of Steel with every intention of killing him. Superman, never experiencing weakness or pain outside of the short time spent on the Black Zero, has to face a superhuman foe that he can't get close to without becoming human and feeling searing pain. As the battle rages in their first encounter, more innocent lives are in danger as Corbin has no regard for collateral damage. Superman is taking a beating while saving citizens of Metropolis from explosions, thrown automobiles, falling debris, and until all are safe and Superman is able to retreat to safety to plan his next move to take out Corbin. John's rage growing, so does his irrationality. He confronts General Eiling about his methods that he is confronted by General Eiling about his methods that put people in danger. Corbin, enraged, destroys the installation near the crashed ship. Eiling barely survives and blames Lex for John's conditions, for creating him in the first place, and threatens him to stop Metallo, as Corbin calls himself, as he is no longer human, quote unquote. Meanwhile, Metallo rampages through Metropolis trying to draw Superman out, endangering innocents. Superman cannot allow that, especially because of him, and shows up without a solution to fight Metallo. In a brutal battle that Metallo is likely to kill Superman, Lex appears the solution of lead to protect Superman from the deadly radiation. Superman recovers with Metallo distracted from trying to kill Lex and puts a stop to him. He doesn't kill him, basically puts him offline as he is more machine than man.
I like it. I think it kind of peels it back and makes things a little bit more personal. And kind of helps keep it, I don't know, a little bit more grounded till, just with what's going on.
Right. I think the, that idea that John Corbin may be an ex, for Lois Lane, as well as the fact that, he's in the position he is because of the Black Zero, because of Zod. Not necessarily Superman, but he has nobody else to blame but Superman. That makes him entirely personal for both Clark and Superman.
It gives him that villain that attacks on both sides.
Yeah. And that may even lead to something like Corbin, because of his irrational behavior, trying to kill Clark Kent as well.
Now, would you make Corbin like straight out like have the Kryptonian heart, or would that be something you build to? Like he starts out just as like a cyborg looking kind of metal, and then he's just not powerful enough, and then they use the kryptonite to enhance him or something, or
I would think that would be a better way to go, because it would make the story evolve. I'd like something more of, he's woken up more machine than man, but not necessarily, just straight machine, straight metallo, say like from the, Superman animated series. I
like the idea of starting out as kind of like, in the comics where they did it later, where like it was like a metal suit, like an exosuit. And he's in that, and then he gets hurt. So then they use parts of the suit, and they redesign it, and it becomes him. And then like slowly, throughout the course of like the movie, we would just keep peeling away, peeling away, until eventually he would become more of like the Metallo we're used to seeing.
Yeah.
Where he's more robot than person.
Exactly. That would definitely make a movie arc. And
you could also have it, part of it is like his hatred and like desire towards Superman and Clark. And you could definitely like not only have Eiling in the movie. I think it'd be neat to bring in Sam Lane as well.
It would.
And just because Eiling and like you could feel like maybe Eiling or Sam Lane originally had the product or the project, but then turned it down because he felt like it wasn't there. It wasn't something where it needed to be.
Right.
And then Eiling picked it up.
Hatred, really like pushed it through.
So, just to build like more story towards Lois, build up her character. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a solid, well thought out story structure. Something we could definitely have gotten behind. Because a lot of people we did want that.
The thing that appealed to me more like this is, they went big with the alien threat out the gate with Man of Steel.
Yep.
Which is the best way to honestly introduce Superman as a hero of Earth. I like bringing it back to Earth. They did that with BBS. But I like the idea of the sequel bringing it back to Earth, that the trusting factor that he spoke about with the priest in Man of Steel.
Yeah.
That there are going to be
it's
people.
kind of us attacking him.
Yes, exactly. So it shows that, and then one of us, attacking him is putting people in danger, which because of Black Zero, he's really not comfortable with, putting the city of Metropolis and other people in danger.
Exactly. See, and that's a solid logical step of where to take the character.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so let's move on. And after this episode, we can have people tweet us or Facebook message us or email and just what your thoughts were, what your idea of a movie would be, and what direction do you like to go?
That was my first option, idea for a sequel. Obviously the second one being after Justice League in the way that they're going now. And, it'll be interesting to see how they go bringing Superman back to life and where to go from there. And you could still, there's quite a few ways to go still at the end.
Oh yeah. Okay, so what would you give your film as a title?
Well, I figured in the vein of like the Man of Steel, the Man of Tomorrow, but Man of Tomorrow.
I like that. Who would you want to have direct?
There's a lot of good directors out there, and I'm been looking at the short list for the new ones and stuff, and Matthew Vaughn is high up there, which he's done X-Men First Class and quite a few other movies.
Little foreshadowing hint here. That's who I have pegged to direct my movie. If I can't do it myself, Matthew Vaughn's going to do it. That's how mine. So that's just a little foreshadowing there of where mine's going. All right.
Right.
Anyone that you, in particular, you would like to have composed for your movie?
It's going to be tough to top Hans Zimmer's score for the first two movies there. So I don't have a top composer in mind.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I gotcha. See, we were watching Wonder Woman the other day, and
okay,
I was telling my wife, I cannot remember the guy who composed the score for Wonder Woman, but I liked his reorchestration and redoing of the Wonder Woman theme from what Junkie XL had done. It just, I really liked, it was, what's the word, I don't know, it felt less bombastic, and it felt more, I don't know, classic for a score for such an epic origin film.
Right.
I felt like the guitar riff was.
It added more scope.
Yeah, there you go. Because it didn't seem just that guitar in your face like it was in BVS. So
yeah, when she came on screen, they announced her with that that loud guitar,
which wasn't bad. I'm not saying it was bad. It was just just having to hear it over and over. I'm like, you know what? I think we could tweak a little something here. Okay, so I feel your vibe, and I also am a fan of the idea of the movie that we should have gotten before BVS. The movie that really helped.
Yeah, which it would have.
His character.
Yeah. I mean, with the idea that I had for before, it would definitely have changed what's out there now. To a degree, you can use quite a few of the elements spread out a little
So, just kind of a heads up. I thought about how doing the same kind of idea concept as a crossover for the two podcasts next year, because it's Superman's 80th anniversary, and kind of talking and pitching our ideas for what we would have wanted to see as a sequel to Superman Returns. And I'd like to do like I'd like to get 2 or 3 of us on that podcast. So that's what we're going to do next year. And kind of talk about like where do you think that property should have went, because that could be a fun discussion based on some of the things that Bryan Singer had tried to say. Because I really feel like Man of Steel and Superman Returns are like products of both being like Man of Steel went a little far with the action, like over on one side, and less like story elements, where Superman Returns was like all story and no action for Superman. Like we need a middle ground,
right?
Film.
Except for the super rescues.
Yeah, which are fun and awesome, but like, I mean, like in Superman Returns, he fights an island. You know, and he throws in.
Yeah, and then in Man of Steel and especially BVS, they didn't show any of his saves. They didn't show any of his saves. It was all just like the end. That was it, like right before or right after the save. So it was like it was just the imagery, and then it wasn't all the saves that he actually was able to perform that they did on Superman Returns so well.
Exactly. So, all right. So that was James's idea. Now here goes mine. I decided to save my brain a little power and just decide to do a sequel to... So my Man of Steel 2 will follow after Justice League, since that's where we are now. My film title will just be called Superman, because technically the first Superman movie was called Superman the Movie. We've never had a film just titled Superman. My director would be Matthew Vaughn.
Easy. It's perfect.
And my composer is I would get Michael J.
I actually thought of Superman maybe being just the title of the third. That was kind of mine. So just a little pull there, like the third movie would just be titled Superman. I had the same idea going.
And I would have
in a different route
do the score, because I've really liked everything he's done recently. And he's followed in the footsteps of John Williams by doing Jurassic World. He's done the newer Star Trek films. He even did Star Wars Rogue One. He has a neoclassical sound. So I would pick him as my composer to come in and score my film. Because I think he could do kind of like what I was saying about with the Wonder Woman, where it has the feel of what came before, but yet still takes it in a different direction.
Right.
And has that classic film, classic score feel. So here goes my summary.
Sounds like that kind of could be a quality composer for both the action and the saves.
Exactly. You know, like
wrapping them both into one.
Like I love the Hans Zimmer theme for Man of Steel, but there's parts later on when I get
actually the flight song is my ringtone.
Yeah, I broke it up for like different text tones and ringtones. There's parts of it where it gets so bombastic and loud, I feel like I don't get to enjoy the orchestration as much. And I just kind of wish that maybe the mixing was a little different at times. But with that said, here goes my synopsis for Superman. The world is impressed by the return of Superman. They see him as a hero, though some still see him as a false god. He and the Justice League saved us from Steppenwolf. Some details, just heads up, some details of my pitch may need to be tweaked depending on the events of Justice League. I don't know what's going to happen in Justice League, so I got to kind of work around that. Clark Kent is still considered dead, so Superman is just full-time Superman. The government has partnered with a new tech firm called BRI. After contracts with LexCorp were withdrawn, BRI stepped in to upgrade the U.S.'s security. BRI's leader and CEO, his name is Brian. And then it is revealed that Brian's actually the identity taken on Earth by Brainiac. He has chosen Earth now to be his next place where he will choose a city to be taken. He has been here a while studying us, but also our heroes, and waited out the invasion of Steppenwolf before he chose a city to take. Brainiac will have no ties to Krypton as far as a creation, like in some comics. Once Brainiac is in, he takes over our entire system and starts to cause mayhem. Kind of like the fire sale idea that we got in Live Free or Die Hard. What we're going to have to deal with is the shutting down of air traffic controllers, hospitals, missiles being fired, the stock market crashing, and Superman has to use his might as well as his mind to defeat his enemy. The film will be like a world disaster flick, while Superman races to take care of things, while also trying to stop Brainiac. Think of The Day After Tomorrow and what should have been done with Avengers Age of Ultron. On board Brainiac's ship, Superman learns that once one of the Kryptonian outpost colonies that Krypton had thought had died was actually taken by Brainiac, the post of Kandor. He discusses and learns that Brainiac had experimented on some of the subjects because he was fascinated by their reaction to different solar radiations. He also mentions seeing that symbol before. This film will negate the prequel comic book that was created by Zack Snyder and David S. Goyer, because it was never widely released and it's never really talked on, and we don't know if it's canon anymore. During the battle, Superman will take some of the Kryptonian tech that he finds on board the ship, and he is able to trap Brainiac in it and sends Brainiac into the Phantom Zone. Clark then takes Brainiac's ship to the Arctic, where he can examine it, and it becomes the Fortress of Solitude. He also takes the old scout ship to the Arctic, and with Brainiac's technology, he's able to bring back Jor-El. Now, post-credit scene. Post-credit scene. The ship that Clark has is part of a larger ship. The larger ship holds all the bottle cities. We see that Kandor was in Clark's ship earlier, but we see a few stasis pods of those experimented on Brainiac. Those pods are jettisoned and come crashing to Earth. Boom. Now, new characters and cast. Brainiac, in my opinion, should be played by Javier Bardem. I would introduce the character of Henry James Olsen, played by Asa Butterfield. And with my post-credit scene, I would introduce the actress Maddie Hasten, who was on Grimm in its final season. Now, one thing I haven't figured out in my take is where the Justice League are during this. But I've also backdoored my third film. My third, what it'll do is the crashing of the pods is where we will get Supergirl. And what we'll do is we'll have, hold on, I'm pulling this up here, wait for it to load, and we'll pull from Batman, Superman, Apocalypse, the book, the film, with a little bit of the story of Kara. The third film would teach more about Krypton. Cal will learn what his planet was like, what it is he really lost. We will see Jor-El interact with Zor-El. Zor-El I have cast as John Hamm. Although he will learn of his family's heritage, Cal still is behind his decisions he made earlier in Man of Steel. The villain for the third film will be Parasite. And it'll be a meta-human, just like in the comics. But what it'll do is it'll take this version of Superman to a place that he's never been, where he basically is human and having to fight.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my pitch for a third one, because I was on a roll when I was doing this.
Yeah.
But I don't have a title for my third one yet. But anyways, so that's my Man of Steel 2.
Nice we got to pitch both ideas there.
You got to see the notes I have on here. I was just like, oh, this is what I would do next. This is what I would do next. I even have my own. I even have notes I wrote with a friend on if I was able to reboot the film series, like in 10, 15 years or 20 years or whatever, what I would do with my origin film, how I would set it up. So, yeah, this is stories and stuff that comes to mind a lot.
Awesome.
But yeah, that would be my idea for a sequel. Kind of bring it back centric.
Yeah.
To Clark.
That's pretty perfect there. Yeah. Just Superman, and that's all he has when he comes back after the Justice League. He has to rediscover not just who he is. He's Superman, but how does he get a life back that he had before?
And I think and if not to get too far, if doing the third film idea, I don't want to use the term Clark heavy, but I think if he fights Parasite, he loses his abilities for a while. And I'll if I had time, I would come up with more.
Yeah, is he real no choice to be Clark Kent at that point?
And there would be we would somehow pull off and bring Clark Kent back. But I think having Clark Kent reappear at the same time Superman does is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
This movie is Superman died and came back, and it's him showing the world that he is
that Superman's back.
And I feel like, as much as I love Man of Steel, and we've talked about,
he couldn't be Clark Kent in that sequel movie, not until at least the very end when he has some idea.
Man of Steel ends with Clark Kent, okay, and then they cut out most of the Clark Kent in BVS.
Yep.
But we also think about with Man of Steel, we're introduced to the concept of the fortress, and then it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
We lose Jor-El. A lot of these staple Superman things.
Yeah, so your Brainiac was of alien origin.
Yeah, kind of like
the comic where he's a separate alien being.
Yes, where he's been
Coluan?
Yes, where he's roaming around. He has no ties. A lot of people are familiar with the old animated series where Brainiac was created on Krypton.
Yes.
So I want to avoid that, but I also wanted to bring back the idea that there was these Kryptonian outposts and colonies that Zod mentions in Man of Steel. And
that addresses, and that would be their ancient history. So he could have had this, not ancient, but long ago, before they abandoned the outposts.
And
it would.
Brainiac took one, and they didn't realize it. They just thought the outpost died or whatever.
Exactly.
Like the others. And that way we could do something where we have Kandar. So if you wanted to do
that, I love that idea, pulling back from Man of Steel and BVS.
So if you wanted to do New Krypton, later on or something, because my thing is I was talking with my wife is if I got to say someone like Tyler, we want you to write a outline for a Superman trilogy of films. My third film would be Superman versus Zod. And the way I would structure it is Zod would show up. He would represent Krypton. And Cal would immediately connect to him. Much like in Smallville, when kind of him and Zod, when the Kandorians show up, he's trying to be friends with Zod. But basically, in the third film, that's when Clark has to fight another Kryptonian. I really hate when all these villains come from Krypton. Doomsday, Zod, Brainiac in the comics, because it really makes like, wow, Superman, are you like the only good thing to ever come from your planet?
Right. Yeah, they've definitely made that running theme that him and Kara are the only two good people to come. His family and only like immediate family is the good people on Krypton. Like they're so corrupt.
Unless you took that and ran with that as a theme, like unless you really made it that Krypton had become a corrupt hierarchy of a planet where they basically were like this,
which could be quite an interesting political theme in the upcoming Krypton television show.
And I agree with you. Like I thought it would be a cool idea if Krypton had basically become a corrupt society. There weren't any good, decent people left. Jor-El knew that the planet was unstable, but decided not to act because Krypton believed they could survive anything. They were better. And what they were starting to do is become dictators of the universe. And, he saves his baby because he knows that if his baby survives, he has a chance to change and actually do something good compared to what Krypton had become. And then you could play with the whole color scheme where, Krypton had become void of color. It was very dead feeling, very black, white. And that's why Jor-El, puts a suit of, an old family suit in with Cal back when Krypton was vibrant and, there were colors, they wore colors before they had become this monochromatic society. And that enforces the brightness of his costume more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of neat things you can do because there's no problem with stepping away from the comics, in some ways to show something different on screen. Like, if I got to reboot the whole film series, Krypton wouldn't be featured until the second movie. The second movie would be where Clark would learn about Krypton. The second movie would open with the destruction of Krypton. He wouldn't even learn about Krypton. We wouldn't see his parents because I feel like that's what we always get. Start with the Krypton and then we move forward linearly. Let's start with Clark as a person on Earth and kind of catch up with what he's been doing.
Yeah, because that's who he is.
And then, that's one thing I like that they toy with on Supergirl, the show, is the fact that Clark identifies himself more as human than he does as Kryptonian.
Yeah, I thought that was a very interesting character choice, humanizing him under Supergirl.
Which is great because it's something to help differentiate him and Supergirl and both their ideologies. So, we're really exploring. Just hire us to write the sequels, man. We got this. I think
absolutely.
Originally I wasn't super thrilled, but I'm more and more interested in Krypton as a series. So I'm hoping it comes out and it's good. I really want it to be good.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely giving it a chance. And, I hope it was good. It kind of seems like with the opening of Man of Steel, and the history that they were given, that they just gave in Man of Steel, that David Goyer had a lot more ideas for Man of Steel. I bet if they wanted to, they could have friggin' crammed another 20 minutes in the opening of Krypton, just from ideas that they probably had. And with it being a prequel to Man of Steel, it can really show some different aspects of Krypton. They did talk about it in Smallville, how Kryptonians weren't weren't very different from humans. Emotions, greed, pride, the deadly sins, basically. And that was their downfall as well. And so they can really show that on a different world. And so close to the end of the planet. I mean, they really have to be doing some serious stuff to exhaust the entire planet's resources.
Now, have you read any of the stuff that Jeff Johns came out and said during what do you call it? Comic-Con. Let's see if I can find my notes. Basically, he said it was going to deal a little bit with the idea of some sort of time travel where some doomsday is going to be involved somehow. I don't know if it's who it is. Maybe he said Brainiac. I'm trying to remember. Is coming back to trying to stop Clark in the future. So that's going to be one of something that happens in the show. So to kind of keep it where it is a prequel series, but it also still ties to the current DCEU. So I'm kind of intrigued by what that could bring.
No, actually, I didn't see that they were gonna try and tie it to the current stuff as well.
So I'm curious because I feel like this has been one of those, like, it started out as like a David Goyer idea.
Well, he's probably heavily involved in the pilot, but beyond that,
I feel like
where does it go?
Long, and there's been so much things changed that maybe the original idea what they had for Krypton has changed. And I'm kind of curious to where it's going, because originally, like, do you remember when that trailer leaked? And
yeah.
And it said coming 2017. And then they pulled it and they held off on it, and then they released it.
Yeah, I was surprised when it disappeared offline. I couldn't find it anywhere.
I found it on Vimeo, of all places. And I ripped that thing and kept it. I was like, download. And, I even showed Jania, I'm like, this says Krypton, and then it shows Krypton. Now it's in 2018. So it's kind of crazy because that show was announced around the same time. And it was announced they were going to do it shortly after Man of Steel. And that was almost 5 years ago. By the time it comes out, it'll be almost 5 years.
That's a long time for a television show to be in development, like, from the time they announce it.
Exactly. I mean, it was announced.
Like, usually they're in development for a couple of years behind, and then
they announce it or whatever. And, I mean, Gotham's on season 4, and Krypton was announced around the similar time as Gotham. So, I don't know
it was.
if it's going to be better because they've taken their time and reworked some things, or if it's just going to be meh. So we will have to wait and see.
Well, a long time in development. Let's hope they got some ducks in a row and we'll get some interesting stories.
So that's all we got for this episode. Any other final thoughts? I mean, you and I could just sit here and go on forever about Superman and all his
just
wonderfulness.
Right, have the second movie hashed out here.
Oh yeah, just give us a few more minutes and we'll actually start like scripting it. Like, instead of, we'll have all the beats, we'll have all 3 acts broken down, We'll have each individual beat set up for you, and then we will just start the dialogue, throwing it in there, and then we'll just send it on over to DC and Warner Brothers, and just tell them like, hey, we're already done.
This is it.
This is it.
Shoot it. Bring it.
Look, I even got the new cast picked out for you, the additional people.
Mm-hmm.
Go make this happen.
Oh, if that was just the case.
Oh, it would be.
As a dream come true.
I just hate when there's that passion project you have that you're like, man, I just want this to be good, and you have so many ideas for it. It's not just like, I feel like there's fan fiction, and that can service the fans and what they really want to see. But then there's also like, hey, I'd like to take a crack at this, but at the same time, like, I can service the overall story and go with what you're doing and pull your stories together.
Yeah.
It's just like, give me
just to be involved, because
it's like
just to be involved, because those fan films, they put some money into those fan films that they've got out there on YouTube. Bat in the Sun, and
man, that was good. Superman ones are getting better, fan film wise, because it's a little bit easier to do the effects and stuff. So. But all right, man. Well, thank you, James, for being part of us.
Yeah, it's high dollar effects.
Oh yeah. Well, let's just once again let people know where they can find you online.
I am James Cole on Facebook, and you can email me at havoc3169@gmail.com. That's havoc, HOVOK, 3169@gmail.com.
All right. Well, thank you once again, James. And remember, look up in the sky. And remember, you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Krypton Report. You can also email us at kryptonreportpod@gmail.com. If you get a chance to go over to iTunes, please leave us a review to help us get better. If you're an Amazon shopper, just remember you can go to southgatemediagroup.com. There's a portal, log into Amazon, and you'll shop into your account just regular, but it also helps keep all the podcasts on and helps keep Southgate running. Remember, look up in the sky.